In 2006, President George W. Bush allocated nearly $7 billion to securing our borders.
The Border Patrol. We protect America. Are you up to the challenge?
Customs and Border Protection has now become the largest law enforcement agency in the country.
The majority of our activity is going to be within the first 30 miles of the border, because that's where our primary focus is.
Most Americans may not know it, but there is a second line of defense. A network of domestic checkpoints up to 100 miles away from Mexico. These internal checkpoints also received an influx of agents as well as new gear and sniffer dogs. We went to check out a particularly notorious one, Sierra Blanca, in the middle of nowhere on Interstate 10 in West Texas.
Hey ma'am, is everyone on board a citizen?
Yes, sir.
This is where a host of American celebrities have been busted for drugs. Snoop Dogg, Fiona Apple, and of course Willie Nelson, while rolling through in his tour bus. Checkpoints like this were set up to catch illegal immigrants and major drug traffickers. But the Center for Investigative Reporting has found that instead, this Border Patrol checkpoint is ensnaring mostly Americans, thousands of U.S. citizens traveling within their own country. In the dusty parking lot of the Sierra Blanca police station, I met 3 friends from Austin who just learned this the hard way. Lewis Phelps, the one who looks a little worse for wear, just turned 26.
Yeah, we went to a hockey game on my birthday, went downtown, Austin, did all that. That was a fun time. We went to Vegas about like 5 days later, that was fun. And then the ride back was fun until that checkpoint on I-10.
That's when Lewis was busted. The Center for Investigative Reporting has discovered that 8 out of 10 people arrested at this checkpoint are American citizens like Lewis.
He was driving, I was asleep, and our buddy Lewis was passed out in the back, and we were, 100 yards from the checkpoint, so we kind of didn't know what to do. I kind of just woke up with my seatbelt on, and I guess the Border Patrol agent actually woke Lewis up because we didn't wake him up.
The checkpoint at Sierra Blanca is on I-10, the highway that runs from California to Florida, a road that never even goes into Mexico. But because of the high traffic, the site was chosen as an immigration checkpoint in the 1970s. The agents can only ask questions about immigration status, unless the dogs give them probable cause to stop and search you.
Was it a dog that got you, or what happened?
Yeah, the dog. I love dogs, but I hate that one. There's 2 officers on each side of the car, and then the one to our right had a dog with him. And as we drove by, he would touch the side of the car, and the dog would come up. And I guess the dog smelled something because he kind of waved us down at the side, and they asked us to go inside. It was weird. I was watching them through a little window. They opened up all the doors, and they just let the dog come in the car. And he was just walking around, sniffing around stuff, and he would bark when he found something.
For Lewis, worst birthday ever.
Got a piece of advice for you. If you don't want to get busted, leave your dope at home. But if you do decide to bring it, we are going to bust you, and you are going to pay for it.
Sheriff ARVIN West is the law in this town of 533 people. Busting drug offenders is a Texas tradition, but now they are overwhelmed by the number of cases they have to handle.
Our caseload when I took office was approximately 300-400 cases a year. We're over 2,000, pretty close to 3,000 cases a year now because and the biggest majority of being the checkpoint.
Hey guys, dispatch called. There's 4 cases at the checkpoint.
There are so many cases, the sheriff's office has had to hire on more help.
Your training, go get 2 of them. You take your training and go get 2. Okay, y'all take off.
This is my 4th day, and so far I really like it. It's a lot of fun. The hours are incredibly long so far because I'm still doing things and training, but it's a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. I suspect I'm going to enjoy it for a while. 119 Sierra Blanca, 10-6.
Most of what Casey will be dealing with are small-time drug offenses.
When they contact us, we go out there. If it's just a small amount, personal use, for example, if they just got a joint or 2, then we issue them a citation there to contact the courts. If it's more than that, or if it's a penalty 2 group narcotic or more, then we arrest them and we bring them to jail.
That's exactly what happened to Lewis Phelps and thousands like him. I went to go speak with Rusty Fleming, who works at the sheriff's office.
We've got about 80 right now. They range from federal cases, overflow from other jails. We've got, obviously, checkpoint cases.
Rusty took me back to the holding cells. It was stuffy, like a stale dorm room.
Mr. Phelps.
This was where they were holding Lewis Phelps, the guy having the worst birthday ever.
How you doing, brother?
Thanks for talking with us.
Yesterday, did you get busted at the checkpoint?
Sure did.
Okay, you want to tell me about it?
They said they found some stuff in my bag, took me in the back, put me in the cell, now I'm here.
When they searched the car, did they ask you to claim it? Whether it was your bag or not?
There was 2 of my friends in the car, and it was in my backpack, so I took it. I wasn't going to do that to my friends.
Right. Did they go on?
Yeah, no, they're still here.
The way it works is their case will get put in front of a grand jury, and I can tell you, as far as checkpoint cases go, the Border Patrol wires it up tight. So probably 99.9% of the checkpoint cases all get indicted.
So is he typical?
Yeah, it's very typical. I mean, for checkpoint cases, that's just the norm.
The cell was full of other out-of-towners caught at the checkpoint.
Hey man, let us up out this motherfucker, man. Everybody in here because of checkpoint. I'm from California too. I got my weed card. They got me in here for a paraphernalia charge. What's up with that shit? And mama, I love you. I'll be out in about a month. Bang, bang, bang.
While Lewis sits tight, his friends waited out in the parking lot after spending the night in a nearby motel.
It's just like a waiting game right now.
Never again, right?
Yeah,
Never again
not.
drive through here. Next time we go to Vegas, we'll just stick the Roswell route.
But it's not even like you guys were driving across the border.
No, it was going from like New Mexico to Texas. And we had already gotten past the border. Like this checkpoint is like
80 miles east of El Paso. So
it's like we were like we went through El Paso and we were like, okay, I guess we're fine. Like we don't have to worry about anything, and then it's like 80 miles later, that's where they get you.
Last year alone, Hudspeth County housed and processed 2,600 cases from the checkpoint. It has become the main activity in this tiny town.
Okay, so I should find another bail bondsman?
If we didn't have the checkpoint with the amount of cases that come through there, this would be Mayberry.
But even though the number of arrests is at an all-time high, the amount of drugs seized in each case is typically very small.
0.5 pounds of marijuana.
Still, with all those arrests, it adds up to a room full of weed.
That smell, I can't ignore it any longer.
Well, you're exactly one wall away from 60,000 pounds of dope that we keep in the evidence lockup right there. And this is the main storage for all the evidence that we get. You'll get things like, obviously we've got pharmaceuticals here. You've got small amounts, or what we would consider to be small amounts of marijuana. Right here, this is one load that we procured out of a vehicle, and it's approximately together, it's about 1,500 pounds.
This huge seizure, given pride of place in the evidence room, had obviously been prepared by professionals.
Like I said, you've damn near got 2,000 pounds. Each one of those bundles, each one of those bundles is typically about 50 to 100 pounds. And the reason it's got this green on it is that's axle grease. And what they do is they seal it first with a saran wrap, and then they put the axle grease on it, and then they seal it again with more saran wrap to throw the dogs off. And then these loads are broken down into smaller loads, and then they're distributed around the country.
But this case was clearly the exception. Most cases involve amounts less than 4 ounces.
Yeah, what this is we typically will put multiple cases in these boxes just to keep it easy to store. We handle nearly 3,000 cases out of the checkpoint alone each year, so it really just depends. Each case is bagged up separately. And if you notice, these are all sealed by the Border Patrol.
Rusty opened up a box filled with bags of hot brownies.
What is in here? Cookies. Okay. They look delicious.
And see, when the feds take a case like cookies, brownies, that kind of thing, they weigh the whole thing, even the container that it's in. So you might get busted for 10 pounds of cookies when there's really less than an ounce of pot in it.
And that can get you a felony charge.
Oh, it sucks. But it's meant to.
Lewis Phelps is one of the thousands of cases involving less than 4 ounces of pot. He also had a little DMT, a party drug. That's why he had to spend the night in jail.
Through the doors and then to the left.
So what's going to happen next to that guy?
Well, typically he'll get magistrated, and after he's magistrated, they'll set the bond on him, and you know, he'll call a bonding agent here in town, and he'll get his bail set, and he'll get out.
Thank you.
At the jail, the county judge sets the bond for prisoners awaiting trial. This is when Phelps finds out how much he'll have to pay to get out.
You're Lewis James Phelps?
Yes, sir.
Lewis, my name's Mike Doyle. I'm the county judge for Hudson County.
Yes, sir.
And I'm here to read you your rights and set bond. Where do you live at?
I live in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Okay.
Judge Mike Doyle has lived in Hudspeth County for several decades.
Charged with possession of a controlled substance, a second-degree felony in the state of Texas.
And while he believes the law needs to be enforced, he thinks the price of housing and prosecuting all these drug cases is costing the county more than it can afford.
You know, that little baggie of marijuana, you know how much that costs the state of Texas? When you add up all the people, it would be very substantial, I'm sure. Do you understand your rights?
Yes, sir.
Your bond is going to be set at $2,000.
Yes, sir.
The fines and bonds are processed by County Clerk Teresa Brown.
We don't care if you smoke dope. Bring more. We want your money. We're a broke county. I need job security.
She's not joking. The county thought that all of these arrests from the checkpoint would be a way to make money, with their costs being reimbursed by the federal government. But that's all changing.
The federal government used to reimburse us for our cost. They started out dollar for dollar, and they're the ones that made the approach and said, look, if you'll help us do this, for every dollar it costs you to house these guys, to prosecute these guys, to bring justice to the table, we'll pay you, we'll reimburse you guys. Seemed like a good deal.
Every year they cut the funding a little more and a little more and a little more. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the last time we got paid at approximately 48% of what we actually applied for. And it's my understanding that it's going to be cut even more. And it's very quickly getting to the point where, you know, we may end up telling the federal government, you caught them, you skin this cat.
In other words, the system of netting small fry offenders at checkpoints and turning them over to local sheriffs to prosecute is starting to break down. In fact, with all the budget cuts in Washington, it's about to get a lot worse for the locals.
Yesterday was a big shocker.
Yolanda ESPARZA is the county auditor. She was preparing the county's invoice to the federal government when she got some startling news.
It was a shocker for all of us. On the guidelines, the first thing that they had on there, and it's in red, as you can see, for this year, for 2013, the Bureau of Justice Assistance will only reimburse prosecution cost and will no longer reimburse us for the detention cost under the Southwest Border Prosecution Program. We'll be housing the inmates for nothing. We will not get reimbursed for any of it.
What if you guys just say, we're not taking any more?
I don't know if it's legal or to stop taking them, but at this point, we don't know what else to do. We cannot afford to be housing them and not get reimbursed for it, you know? So it's devastation for us, really devastation for the county.
The government has depended on counties like these to police the front lines of the drug war. But now there's rebellion in the air. The locals say that if Washington won't pay to prosecute its drug policy, they can't take on the costs.
The government doesn't want this to work. I'm not going to be begging the federal government to give us money to do the job that they're not doing. If they want to take the money, fine, but take the problem too.
Well, it'll get to a point in time, and we have done this once before, we'll quit taking their cases.
We asked the Department of Justice what was going on. They declined to appear on camera, but sent me this statement. Due to the current funding constraints, the department has had to make difficult choices regarding funding for other programs, like the Southwest Border Prosecution Initiative. The Congress has also proposed reducing funding for this program, cutting the program from $31 million in 2010 to $4.6 million in 2013. The world is changing around Sierra Blanca. Washington doesn't consider the prosecution of low-level drug busts of American citizens a priority, and something bigger may be happening as well. Other states in the West have moved towards legalization of marijuana, and that's just unthinkable for the drug busters of Sierra Blanca.
You've got states like California that are legalizing marijuana. Colorado now has followed suit. Sounds like New Mexico is going to follow suit. Those people, although it's supposed to be for medicinal purposes, medical issues, we all know that's a crock.
I don't understand how they can do this in California when it's against federal law. You know, so I'd really like a clarification and an explanation on that.
I don't know where all these people are going, why there's so many of them coming from the other states, going through the interstate with drugs. I don't know. You know, maybe our society has lost what's right and what's wrong, and marijuana's wrong.
Lewis Phelps was released from jail after he posted bond with the help of his friends. The way things are going, he may be one of the last checkpoint cases to end up spending the night in the jail cells of Sierra Blanca. Sheriff West is now threatening to stop taking cases like this from the checkpoint. The costs are bankrupting his county. Relieved, Phelps and his friends head back to Austin. But for the sheriff, it feels like losing the war on drugs.
As a law enforcement officer, you have to ask yourself the question, what's next? Murders? Rapists? That we're going to let walk down the street. We got to draw the line somewhere, and that's not happening in the drug trade. For 40-something years, we fought this war on drugs. For 40-something years, we have lost our butts on this. And I don't care what Napolitano tells you, what Obama tells you, what Reagan tells you. We have lost our butts on this. We are so far behind the curve on this, it's pathetic.